a 3 and a 2 and a 1. Hello everybody and welcome to the Eastern eCrit powered by KISS and Zwift Community Live. My name is Jesper Anker, and for what feels like it might actually just be the 16th time of the eCrit, I'm joined by Wesley Sulzberger. How you doing, Wes?
I'm good, Jasper, and I think we've got another big field on the start line here as well. We're about 20 seconds away from start here. Last week, you just enlightened me off air that Oliver Jones averaged 5.5 watts a kilo for the race. So we can expect him to see him go out of the gates here again. He's in that Vision kit now as well because he made that change over to your team, Jesper. Is that right?
He did. But he did say last week the reason he put out 5 watts per kilo was because he had mates tuning in from all around the world. They were very interested to see what Ollie actually spent all his time doing on these Tuesdays. So he had to put on a show for them, and putting on a show, that's exactly what he did.
It looks like Wesley Sulzberger, my brother's gone out the front here. He's off the front, so stirring it up early here for the Wolfpack Taz crew. So Bernie is getting in amongst the action. He's been doing a little bit of training the last couple of weeks on Zwift, getting prepared. Doesn't want to come into this racing series underdone. So it's good to see that he's up the front early on there. And he's just started his own coaching business, so Sulzberger Coaching. So yeah, he's getting out there and amongst it and amongst his community, Jasper.
How do you feel about him stealing your name and turning it into a business?
No, I'm happy to see Bernie also coach some of the young talent and people around the world that you can now by using platforms via Zwift. We see Coach Hendy now using Zwift as a coaching platform, and I'm sure Bernie, a very keen racer here on Zwift, will be structuring his some of his riders that he will be coaching using Zwift.
What kind of rider is Bernie?
Bernie he's quite a good sprinter. He's actually been, so it's quite good that he's in the eCrit series because he's been the actual criterium champion of Australia. So he knows how to ride a criterium. He's very, very experienced. He's actually won in America the Super Week series. So yeah, he's certainly a good criterium rider. He likes that stop-starting sort of undulating racing. So yeah, we'll see him. Hopefully he's well prepared, which I think he wouldn't make a feature unless he was feeling up to it. So we'll see how he goes tonight.
I mean, just to put that into perspective, the national criterium champion of Australia, I think the current one is Caleb Ewan, and we all know how talented he is. And imagine Bernie has won the same exact race. So Bernie, I look forward to seeing what he can put out. Can we expect like 1,500, 1,600 watts in a sprint? Do you still think he's got that on him?
Bernie's not a super quick sprinter, but he's certainly been up there. In the racing series in Sydney, he finished second to Chris Sutton. I was racing that series as well, and I was helping Bernie during that series in Sydney. He only had me and a couple of the younger guys sort of help him out. And on Chris Sutton's side, we had Matthew Heyman, Bling Matthews, Simon Gerrans. There was a whole host of names that we were up against, and we only just pulled up short and really challenged them. And Bernie was finishing, seconds and thirds to the key sprinters, but was just the most consistent throughout the series. So, yeah, he almost come away with a victory there.
That's the name of the game, especially for the eCrit. The most consistent and overall strongest rider around will be invited for that live e-racing finale, which we can finally unveil when it's going to happen and where it's going to happen. So, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the 23rd of September at the Rafa Cycle Club in Melbourne.
Yep.
Am I correct?
Yeah, it's at Melbourne at the Rafa Cycling Club. They're pretty keen to host it there, and I think it's going to be a really good night. We've had at their pop-up stores before. We've hosted the Zwift parties, but now this is at their actual clubhouse. So yeah, it's going to be a really good event, and if you aren't obviously racing, still come along. It's going to be a really good fun night. Lots of people to cheer on, including these Wolfpack Taz crew, which have a really full fleet team tonight. I think there's Rob Dog in there, so Robbie Parker. We've got Bernie on there as well, and Bertie has been going quite strong as well. Chris Birtwhistle, one of the local guys here that takes on the local racing scene. So I think Nadsy should be back in the mix tonight as well. He's off duty with the fire brigade. So we do see Jeff Keel up the front here. You were saying a little bit earlier that unfortunately he won't be able to make the eCrit.
It's not definitive yet. But Jeff did mention to me that we've been saying the 19th of September for a long time, so I'll actually take the responsibility on me. So while all these races have been racing, as I've been saying the 19th of September, guys like Jeff, they planned family vacations around that, and now that it's been pushed due to scheduling conflicts to the 23rd, some riders are actually out camping with their family. They're out, you know, enjoying the summer that's about to come now. So depending on Jeff whether or not he wants to get out of that, it does not look like Jeff will be available on the night. It's going to take a massive hit on the overall racing, because he is one of the guys that could light things up, and him together with his Vision teammate Anthony Vegan Porsche, I am sure they would try their best to overthrow the king that's Aaron Dunn and Luke Ockerby, or the Kings, I guess. So it's a shame, but it looks like Jeff has then revisited his focus, come back to the East Series, and he's going to try to help Ollie Jones and Anthony Vegan Porsche and just get a good workout tonight, because the Eastern race is really, really tough.
It is really tough. We see them strung out quite long, the peloton here now. So the pace is on early here. Looks like a bit of a gap there also. So a few gaps opening up, people letting the wheel go early. I'm sure it will bunch back up, but that's not going to come without consequence. That's going to hurt the legs a little bit of some of those riders.
It looks to be the biggest pack we've seen in a while. Like, just not only considering there's pack fodder in there. I saw the name. It's kind of funny. Not considering there's just a bunch of riders in there. They're actually strong riders in this bunch. Cameron Roberts, who went into a breakaway last week with Ollie Jones and technically won due to being the Aussie in the breakaway. We've got Savatsky, Don, Ockerby, Nazi, Wesley Sulzberger, Pat Shaw, Jeffrey Keel, Anthony Vegan Porsche, Ollie Jones. I mean, the list just goes on with Demu Hassan, McPolymere. Tonight is probably one of the strongest packs we've seen in a while. We're just missing Troy. I mean, we miss you, Troy. Well, hey.
Yeah, Troy is certainly one that loves to take on the breakaway and the challenge, and he's quite a good, strong finisher as well. So if he does get in that breakaway, he's one to also tip to win it here. So we see the group sort of forming here. Looks like a bit of a break off the front here now, Jesper.
It looks like, so Ollie Jones, it looks like, did he not make the start line? Because Ollie Jones is out on course, but he's not actually in the event module. So considering that Ollie Jones is a young guy, he may have made a slip up and not actually joined on time. We all know that we can be tardy sometimes, but it looks like he may not actually be in the starting pin for the race, but nonetheless he's out on course, and he's working with JJ out of Australia, so they've got a 3-second gap down to Trekkie and the bunch. Quick reminder, they're doing 7 laps of the London Classics course today. It's 44 kilometers in total. At the finish line, first place gets 20 points, 20th place gets 1 point. So it goes down in order like that. 4 races left to go. Top 6 from the East, top 3 from the West, and 1 wild card will be invited for this, well, end of season party in Melbourne. For together also the e-racing finale. So it's all up to play still. I think it's only Ben Simpson and Aaron Dunn that are 100% qualified right now. The rest, they've still got to fight for their lives.
They've got to fight for it. So that there's got to be a little bit of tactics come into play here as well, Nadsy. So it's Nadsy, Jesper. I'm getting confused there. So Jesper, there's going to be a little bit of tactics come into play here now for some of these guys that looking. We'll have a bit of a look at the gun show there. I'm not sure where you parked your car. You obviously tell me where.
He's a firefighter. I expect him to have massive guns.
He's got a fair set of guns on him, but he has got a fair set of legs on him as well, and he likes to flex those legs in those breakaways and performs that domestique role. But yeah, I was back to what I was trying to make my point there of some of these team tactics coming into play. You know, you said that Ollie Jones was going to be working towards, Keel would be working towards helping Oliver Jones. Obviously not in the series, but more obviously towards Anthony Vegan Porsche, because obviously he's finding it quite tough on these courses that aren't quite as hilly to mix it up with these sprinters, especially on a course like this here. So, you know, his only real option is to try and go on those breakaways, with those Pat Shaws. We are seeing Pat Shaw now being a little bit more selective. Usually we'd see him go off the front by now, but I think he's saving a little bit more, using his smarts a bit and making sure that he's looking after his point situation there. So I think that's why we haven't seen Pat Shaw launch yet.
He's sitting at 135 beats. We know he's got at least 40 to 45 more to work with, so he's sitting comfortably at this pace. which says a lot at 4 watts per kilo right now. So he's looking good out there on course. He's sitting in. He's changed his kit to that Zwift kit, which incidentally I own the real version of this. It looks really good in real life thanks to Castelli. So he's looking out there on course. He's sitting in, and it's very unlike Pat. I would not. He's like the anarchist. He would never ever take the sensible option. He would just keep on attacking, keep on creating chaos. He's like, if I can't win, nobody else should be able to win. And it's just that sort of racing style is really fun to watch.
It is. But obviously, like I said, he's playing a little bit more smarts about it now, and realizing that these points are quite important to secure his spot for that eCrit final. So he's taking that little bit more conservative approach, but I'm sure we'll see fireworks from Pat towards the end to soften up those legs of those riders.
It has to happen eventually. I'm looking at Bernie, so this is I assume this is his first race in the eCrit series. If he's listening in, what would you give him of advice? Like, what would you say, this is what you got to do in the eCrit to be successful?
Make sure you get that power up. Make sure you get that aero power up. And if you do get one, keep it all the way until you really need it. Because it's quite vital with those aero power ups. You know, that can mean a great range of difference. If you are struggling, you can use that aero power up to get back to the bunch as well. And then he may be able to perform a domestic role. But if he's on, then he'll be able to do a lead out for one of the other guys. Or if he's really on, he may be the rider to try and take it on. But obviously, Ockelby would probably be the main man to get a little few more points done. He's secured, but Ockelby is partially secured, but it's still, like you said, Jesper, there still are some other options there for riders to step up.
So if you are Aaron Dunn and WP Taz, which incidentally you are, do you then put Aaron Dunn into a teammate role since he's secured now? Does he try to work for Nazi and Ockelby?
Yeah, well, I don't think Nadji now can get back up inside that top 6 on points, if I'm correct. So it would be just to secure Ockelby there. But the overall victory of having a win for Nadji would be nice, a nice payback for all the work he's done earlier in the series. So at the same time, I'm sure it would go a long way, but at the same time, I would say the focus of the team would probably be more towards Ockelby taking out another win. And if the opportunity is there, then Nadji will obviously go for those breakaways and cover those vital moves.
So far, he's sitting in. We've still got a massive pack, but we're heading up to that Trafalgar Square climb for the first time. And I'm sure at least 15, 20 riders, they're going to be spat out the back now because we're 10 minutes in. They've been working way over their threshold to try and keep up with these really, really strong riders near the front. And now they're going to have to put in an effort. Halfway up the climb, their legs are going to start to burn, their lungs are going to follow, and that's when they ease off the gas and they get dropped off the back. So we can see the pace is really, really high now, and we see riders off the pace, and it splits up over the top because they keep on the pace here. They keep going 6 to 7 watts per kilo near the front, as we've got Anthony Vegan Porsche leading out the pack, sitting at 187 beats per minute. That little effort there, little hurt.
Yeah, that effort's definitely hurting these riders. So Anthony Vegan Porsche is sitting at that 185 heart rate, so that's quite high for him. We see Greg Watson here now, if you look over to the left, quite a high cadence here around that 100 and sitting at that 173. So he's got a few more beats to play with there. But certainly some of these riders will start to feel this surging in the bunch now, these attacks that are going off the front here. So we see your man Cameron Roberts off the front here now, Jesper.
He's going off the front. Cameron Roberts, who actually will not be able to attend either on the 23rd, as he is racing the local National Road Series race that's happening somewhere. I'm not sure where it is.
It's in Canberra, yeah. So that's happening in Canberra. There's a race on that clashes with the same time as the eCrit. So I think also Ben Hill may be doing that race as well, Canberra Tour, yet to be confirmed. But he said if he was a wild card, he would race the eCrit. So yeah, hopefully he's just throwing it out there. He's just throwing it out there that if he got the wild card, he would race that over the Canberra Tour. So yeah, that'd be interesting. And he's actually from Canberra, so that's his home race. So
wow.
That's pretty big that he'd want to come down and race the eCrit.
Wild card for Ben Hill. Somewhere along the lines, and that's he's pulling up his arms. He's going, "Come on, Jesper, you fight me, fight me."
I'm sure maybe if it comes right down to it, and the way that we dig it would be a sprint off or something between the riders. But I think it will go down to some sort of polling system, which will be confirmed by the KISS organizer, by Glenn Knight. So that'll be later to come. So Glenn will confirm that with the riders via the KISS Facebook page.
It will be exciting to see who's going to get that, well, last spot, I guess, the one and only wildcard spot, which will be an honor to obtain, because that's going to be difficult considering there's been hundreds and hundreds of riders out on course racing that are all eligible to get that wildcard, but you're the one that got it. You're the one that's been specifically invited, not because of your racing, but because of your persona and the way you act on the bike.
And speak of the devil, here's Nadsy with his ears burning. He might have to get the water bottle out and squirt it on his ears there. So he's out in front with that Tron bike, and you'll give him a big ride on there as we see Nadsy lighting it up here at the eCrit like he always does in style. So Nadsy's out on front here, taking it on, hoping that someone would come across and sort of start to form a little bit of a gap here now and start to bridge out. Most likely it'd have to be someone obviously of no danger to the point system and tally that he would continue working. But I think he's just softening up the legs here, testing out, seeing if he can get a bit of a reaction from Pat Shaw.
And he's not getting one. But see, I feel like I've turned into a bit of a fashion police, because a while back I called out Jeffrey Keel for having the best socks on Zwift. Now we gotta go to the opposite end of the spectrum, Natsy. What are those? Just saying, just saying. I'm not sure. Did your grandpa knit you those? Or grandma, sorry? Love you,
oh, yeah. It takes all sorts. So Nancy's starting a new trend there with the grandpa socks. Could take off. I think it must have here already in Tasmania. I think because it is quite a little bit chillier down here at the moment. So I think the grandpa socks are coming in handy. So obviously a transfer across from real life to the avatar. So that's really good to see Nadsy taking that on. We do see a few different hairstyles out there as well. A few people opted still for the helmets as well, safety first. And we see the riders come around that. The man buns are quite aero as well. I like that tuck back there. So I'm not sure if there's any aerodynamics that takes into factor through the games there, Jesper. Maybe you might be able to enlighten me on that. Will the bald-headed or the man bun give you an extra couple of watts over how many kilometers?
See, I usually reference Zwift blog, the great Zwift blog, on these sort of experiments, and they have yet to make, as far as I know, an experiment covering the different head styles, and I have not had either the time or the brilliant idea of testing the aerodynamics of the man bun versus the bald eagle. So
okay, well, so if you're listening out there, we'll get back to you on that one. Hopefully we'll have an answer by next week so we can put it out to the Zwift blog to find out those stats on the aero hairstyles that are out there.
Oh man, but I gotta say though, regardless of the aero hairstyles, the man bun, it just looks good. I don't know what it is, but I have so many friends with man buns, and they just look exactly like they do in the game. Like, it's just awesome, the new level of customization on Zwift. You can just spot them a mile away.
I think most of the Wolfpack crew were going for like the Mohawk style, and I think there was a little bit of an alliance that everyone racing in the Wolfpack crew would have that same sort of do. And I think most of them that are in the loop on that, Bernie isn't obviously, he looks like he's gone for a full head of hair there. So next week, if he races, I'm sure he'll be a little bit more aero with that Mohawk sort of style.
It looks like a dad burger is what he looks like. He looks like one of those dads riding their bikes.
Yeah, well, probably could get some more dad jokes going as well, Jesper. I know that you sent me a video the other week, which was quite a couple of good ones on that one with the dad jokes.
So everyone, I messed up big time. So you know how Wes loves his dad jokes? That is simply his cup of tea. He just, every time he pours sugar in his tea, he also pours a dad joke on top of it. I made the mistake of sending him a video with some of like the best and worst dad jokes ever, and I've purposely not referenced any of them yet, but I fully expect Wes to open the playbook at some point and go, okay, Jesper, why did the frog's car get whatever? And I messed it up. Yeah.
What happened to the frog's car when he parked it? It got towed. Was that the one you were going after?
Oh god, I sincerely
what did
the
taxi driver say to the wolf? Werewolf.
You see what I did, guys? You see what I did. Anyway, we're heading up the climb once again, and before we do that, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in to all these broadcasts. I mean, you guys, the support you guys have been giving us on Zwift Oz and the KISS Road Race, right in the comment section, and the views and the likes. I mean, it warmed my heart when I saw Wendy Superfan with a Zwift water bottle that you sent over, West. That was like, it just, everything culminated into like a really nice, heartwarming experience that you support us, and then in return, we give a bit of us to you. So, right on, Wendy.
Was there a photo? Was there a photo of Wendy with a new water bottle? Was there? I missed that.
Let me just
Jasper.
do my best to find. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. So was there a photo on the Zwift Oz page? Was there? I missed that
No, it
one.
was. If you are smart enough to follow Wendy on her Instagram, then you would actually have seen it. I'm just
Ah,
gonna do my best to actually find it real quick. Turn on the brightness
all
on my
right.
phone, and I've got it right here. So if I go to full screen Jesper Anker, you should be able to see Wendy Superfan
Yeah.
and her Swift water bottle. Right on, Wendy.
Nice one. Nice one. And thanks very much to Holly for passing that on to Wendy Supervan.
Man, if only I had a Swift water bottle.
Oh, it's all right, mate. I'll hook you up when you come down.
Oh, so nonchalant. Man, so these guys at race tonight, this is the final time they'll be taking on the London Classics course for this month. Next week, they're hitting up the Richmond Flat, which will be very interesting to watch. We've not seen how that plays out before. The races have not either, so we'll see if anyone can surprise, maybe a breakaway, maybe they'll take some points. But today, the way the race has been unfolding so far, Ryder's been trying to break away, but it looks like we might have a sprint, depending on Pat Shaw.
Yeah, depending on Pat Shaw, because we see him now up the front here, forcing a little bit of move here, Jasper. So Pat Shaw, like we said earlier, a little bit more selective. So he's sat in for the first 20 minutes now, and sort of now he's starting to test those waters and test those legs. So he's going on with this move here now, and I think that Pat will most likely sort of keep testing those legs of those people, because as much as he'd like to have an easy race, he doesn't want a super easy race, because that doesn't work to his advantage at all, because Ockerby is quite a fast sprinter, and he does not want to go up against Ockerby at the final. But he wants to make sure, because Ockerby, you know, those surges do hurt the legs of the riders, not just Ockerby, but the other riders in the pack as well. So Pat wants to make sure he keeps softening him up a little bit, and also, you know, make sure. Oh, we see Dunn go across here now. So Dunn has seen the danger here and is playing that policeman role and goes across with those nice big Tron wheels flowing there, Jasper.
For this Chinese pedestrian, we got Chow out on course. Remember, this is the Australian eCrit, but anyone are eligible to race, but not everyone is eligible to get points. But that attack, averaging what looked to be 130 RPM, actually brought the peloton within striking distance, and they're now only 2 seconds back from the attack of Pat Shaw and Trekkie, well, and also joined by Dunn out on course. So Pat Shaw looking good out there, attacking early. They are about halfway through the race. They're doing 43 kilometers in total. The pace has been averaging about 51 kilometers an hour. That's not slow. I mean, it looks slow to us because it's such a big pack, but they're still averaging a good 4.1, 4.2 watts per kilo. You try doing that. It's not easy.
I think, yeah, with this big bunch, it's giving a little bit of a false perception of how hard these riders are actually working out here. You know, we're seeing that 300 watts, 166 heart rate here. So some of the other riders are up over that 160. They're up towards that 180 to 170 mark. So some riders really having to dig in here and using a lot of energy. And like Jesper said, this big pack is giving that sort of assumption that they're all just doing a bit of a group ride here, but they're doing that group ride at a certain number of watts here now and really putting in.
You know how some group rides are sub 2.5 or sub 2 group rides? Right here we have a +4 group ride. That's what we have in our hands right here. What a lovely way to spend your Tuesday evening.
And these riders rock up for it each week. They love this. They love this time in their pain cave. So, like we said earlier, about these riders have different setups as well. Nancy was seeing. Oh, Cameron Roberts has gone the attack again here now. Nancy was following suit, but Nazi looks like he's dropped back now and decided to let him go out on his own. So Cameron Roberts is in that all black kit here, so suiting the style of his GPM NRS team of Trent Wilson. So Cameron Roberts is looking to just sort of stretch things out here and wants to go on with a move. Like we saw him in the move last week, and he wants to sort of produce some sort of attack here again, Jasper.
And look at that suck game. Matches everything. On point. That is a big approved mark from A self-proclaimed fashion guru, which I know a lot of people out there will get a good laugh from. But Cam off the front, Jeffrey pacing it back, working for his teammate Anthony Vegan Porsche. As Jeff in the East is out of the standings, but Anthony Vegan Porsche, I think he's been dropped down to 4th now, but he's still 50 points away from 5th place.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Anthony's at that 204 points, and Linton Zavatsky is at 221. So just edging him out the other week, dropping him down into 4th place. And then we have Greg Watson back at 155, Pat Shaw at 142, and then we have Mick Plomer at 129.
I spoke to Linton the other day, and he said he's actually started his weight dropping scheme now, because now obviously there will be a weigh-in at the live finale, as we have to verify your weight, as all the speed is based on your weight.
And height as well. So we measure up of the weight and the height, and we'll put those together and see whether that affects any of the racing. But I'm sure these riders have been pretty honest, hopefully, about their weight.
They're all honest, but what he was saying that, Wes, is that he's now started to try and drop as much weight as possible. So now that his spot is pretty much secure, he wants to try and get himself down to racing weight. Right,
so he's got a bit of a regime there to make sure he holds the power but drops the weight. Exactly. So that's one thing that that these riders will have to start to think about also. But the main thing is to keep that power as well. It's no use dropping weight if you're dropping power with it. So keep the power and slowly drop the weight. That's my suggestion there as a coach would be to slowly shed it off over the weeks and don't go for it in the week before of trying to drop 5 kilo.
That will not have a good effect on you. Trust me, from somebody that has tried. But it's kind of cool though, because it's like, when the tour comes up and you hear stories about cyclists waking up, taking sleeping pills and going to bed and not eating anything, waking up the next day training just to drop weight so they're at like the golden 66, 67 kilo for the tour. It's essentially the same thing for the eCrit. Everyone is trying to get in that peak condition for the live finale.
Everyone wants to make sure they're ship and sharp, and Nazi will be one that, hoping to get that wild card, will be one to start thinking about training that little bit extra, trimming down that little bit of weight, and making sure that he's on for this eCrit if he does get that call up for that hashtag. Hashtag you going, Nazi?
Did you call Nazi fat?
No, Nazi is not fat. Nazi is a strong rider. Nazi is he's not in the lightweight range. Nazi, he's quite a tall bloke. He is a firefighter, so he has got a fair bit of strength about him. So no, I did not call Nazi fat at all.
Just testing you. Out on course, Riley Fleming, who finished top 10 last week, is also out there. He's rocking a bunch of ride-ons in his back pocket. We see Craig Watson, who was first introduced as Wes's Wheels. Now he's skyrocketed himself into top 6, if I remember correctly. I think he's sitting 6th overall, so looking good.
He's in fifth place. Yep, 5th place. So he was also known as Able Physio, which is his wife's physio, who's a physio here in Launceston, which I've also seen before when I've had knee troubles. So I think his name was under Able Physio. So if you're in Launceston area, then check them out. And we also, going back beyond that, we have Damien Hassan in 9th place at 126. So Damien Hassan it's a bit of a stretch for him to try and jump up there. Now he's in that Team Aussie Hump Day team there. So if he has any other teammates that could help him sort of move up those rankings and join this eCrit to help him out, that would really be vital for him to try and pick up points, because on your own there, Jesper, 1 out is quite difficult to take on the teams like Wolfpack, Taz, and now you have Vision also with a very strong team.
See, I think a light bulb just appeared over my head. For the longest time, I've been trying to figure out who Mike Polymir is, because he continuously finishes top 10, but I do not remember mentioning his name at any point whatsoever in the broadcast. What if Polymir is Pauly? Because I do remember Pauly from pretty much every single race. Mike.
Yes.
Please, well, not you, Wes. Your name Wes. You're not Mike. Mike, please confirm to us that you are M. Pauly if you are, because I have been searching to figure out who is this mystery man that continuously finds his way into the top 10. He's been racing really, really well. I think you're Pauly, but please get in touch with us over on Zwift Oz if that is the case. He's currently rocking 40 RPM. I mean, he is pushing that piston pretty hard.
Yeah, geez, that's quite a low cadence there, and he's down in that 70 mark there now, so 75. So we definitely would say that Polly is a grinder, but he looks like he's lifting his cadence back up there now. Now that he's got that heads up, I know we'll switch riders there now, so that's why he's picked that cadence up. But we see Pat Shaw. See, look at Pat Shaw, that 90 cadence there. So nice cadence, keeping those legs rolling. So obviously, if you're down under that sort of in that 70 RPM range, then it's if you can lift a heavy weight so many times. And if you have a lighter weight, you can lift it a lot more times. So that's what you're sort of doing essentially with your legs there. You're pushing that heavy weight. You can only do that so many times, and eventually you have to surrender to that weight and crack, and that will, it's all about efficiency. So that's why we see the best riders in the world usually keep their cadence up as well.
So I mean, Chris Froome, best rider in the world, known for his outrageous 120 RPM Mont Ventoux climb.
Yeah, well, that also comes back down to a little bit eccentric on Chris Froome's style, because some riders can handle that extremely high cadence that he has, and other riders that just blows them up. So some riders can have that sewing machine sort of cadence, and other riders just need to be more in that sort of that 80 to 90 mark.
The sewing machine cadence. I think that's the best way of describing that I've ever heard. Kudos.
No worries.
Oh man, I want to hear one day say that on broadcast. Here comes Froome, and look at that sewing machine. The man is just stitching everything together. What's going on here?
He's really stitched these other competition up. Oh, so many options there. We can keep going with that. Oh dear.
We could keep going. But because we're decent human beings, we will not keep going. We will not subject you to that horror. Instead, we'll focus on...
Jesper, back across to the eCrit, and I just wanted you to let people know that aren't familiar with what's going on here, what's happening, how is this happening, are these just avatars on the screen, who's behind this, and what's going on?
So what's happening is a bunch of kids at home, they take their PlayStation controller and then they jump on the game. I'm just kidding, guys. They actually don't do that. I just had a controller nearby. So this is called Zwift. It is the digital destination for fitness. That is our slogan. Anyone can jump on Zwift. Anyone can do it. It's like a spin class, but from the availability of your home, from your pain cave, from your garage, wherever you want to be, all you need to do is you need to have a bike. It can be a mountain bike. It can be a cyclocross bike. It could be a women's bike. Any bike. Put that on some sort of turbo trainer or rollers. You could even have a watt bike, if you know what that is. A spin class-ish bike. That's like one complete bike that has different notches to like resistance. You hook that up to a computer or an iPhone or soon maybe an Android, and then you can get on Zwift. So all these guys, they're on an actual real bike, pushing out real cadence. The heart rate is real, the watts are real. So watts is the power going through the legs. It's going from the legs down through the pedals. The heart rate is how the body responds, and the cadence is how stupid or smart you are. Higher the cadence, the smarter you are, according to Wes. So that's essentially
that's a good assumption. Good assumption at the end there. So JJ, we are seeing now, watching through JJ. So JJ's been on the attack early on before with Oliver Jones. So he's moving up the front here now, sort of looking for those moves here now. So we're going to head up here and we'll most likely see a bit of a move, and we see Cameron Roberts go again. Or no, is this Cameron Roberts coming back to the pack here?
He's coming back to the
pack. Or is that pedestrians on course?
No, Cam was in the attack, but it looks like he is back again in the pack. Nobody is being let go. So the fact that the peloton is so big tonight means that individual breakaways are going to have a tougher time getting away, because they're going to be fresher legs every time they can go to the front and do a pull. So breaking away tonight may not be an option, even though last week we actually had a three-man breakaway. Ollie, Cameron, and Pat. Pat had a small technical issue, making it so that he was actually dropped off the front with no mechanical service out there. He had to give up his substantial lead and his potential victory, and Cam took it instead. So tonight, Wes, we always love a good prediction. We always love to, look good afterwards, saying, hey, I predicted this would happen. Now it's about the time to do that as we're halfway through the race. Who wins, and how does this person win the race?
Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one with so many Wolfpack riders there. I'd have to go for one of the Wolfpack riders, because they've got a full team there. We did see Tom Aliff take a flyer on this course. and almost held on there. I just caught him back under the 1K to go ban and got out to 7 seconds. So, yes, it is quite a difficult one. I'm going to probably have to go, no biased or anything, but probably go for Wesley Sulzberger.
Oh, you stole my pick. Oh, that's a good pick. We'll double down on that one, but then we're going to have a small side bet. I'm just going to have to mention Jeff, who's out on course right now. I'm not sure if he's going to race the Western eCrit, but if Jeff gets into a breakaway, we've seen over on Zwift Community Live, where we broadcast the Western race, just how strong Jeff is. Once he gets into that breakaway, it doesn't matter how many riders are behind him. This guy is just an engine. He just never, ever, ever stops. He just keeps on drilling at the front, and he gets away. So Jeff is a good side. If you had to have a side bet on off your own, Wes, if Bernie wasn't to win, who would win?
I'd probably go with Jones as a sure thing. Jones has been super consistent throughout the series.
You can't
not eligible on points.
He didn't make the start.
Oh, Jonesy made the start. All right. Okay, we'll crunch it back. I'm going to go Cameron Roberts then as the outsider in that all-black kit, rocking that black Cervelo. I like his style with that all-black kit, so I'm going to probably go Cameron Roberts. And he's just come off a stint in America racing Criterium, so I think he should have good form.
Definitely. So Ollie Jones would be a great pick, but for some odd reason, he's not actually in the race. He's not being qualified as one of the riders in the A category of this race. So maybe he picked the wrong starting category. Maybe he didn't make the start whatsoever. He's not eligible to even imagine getting points today, even though he's in New Zealand. We just love talking about Ollie because this man is the future. This man is a legend. Yeah. You'll hear his name on television to come.
Yeah, and he is also eligible for that Academy series, which he's joined up to. Just have a check through your Facebook there now, Jesper, and see if there's any fans that want to connect with us or if there's any info that we need. So, yeah, we do see Jones connecting up with the Academy, which is running for the men's under-23 squad. So Dimension Data are running that Academy now for the young riders to be part of for the under-23 category. And the top 10 will get to go on a training camp with the actual Dimension Data team to South Africa. So that's a pretty big thing to happen for those young guys to have that experience, to be around the likes of Mark Cavendish and Bernie Eisel and Mark Renshaw, you know, some of the top sprinters in the world. It's a pretty big deal. And then one of those guys will also be eligible to, and Jasper looks like he's laughing there because I think he's going to join up to the academy. Is that what you're laughing at, Jasper? Because Jesper is actually eligible for the age brackets for under 23, and he has been racing quite well locally here, finishing third last week in his race, in his criterium. So you've been taking a little bit of experience from the eCrit and applying some of the tactics to yourself. Is that right, Jesper?
That is right. Essentially, finished third last week. I won the bunch spread, but I couldn't catch the breakaway. Happens. But yes, I am eligible, but I think due to other commitments that I would not be able to actually win the Zwift Academy. And that's not even saying I don't even have the legs, guys. The guys like Ollie Jones, there are other gems on Zwift that are twice as strong as these Danish legs are. So,
but I think you definitely should still be involved because you definitely win the People's Champion Award, I reckon, Jesper.
Thank you, Wes. Can I just say, by the way, I love the way Australians say data. Like, I heard Robbie McEwen say Dimension Data, like, doing the tour. It's so funny. Like,
Dimension Data.
I know I shouldn't say it because I can't pronounce Zwift, but still, it's Data. It's so funny. Where's the R?
There's no R. Yeah, so we were back here. We see Bernie now at 170 heart rate, and he's got a quite high cadence there. So he's been listening to that Froome cadence. He's up around that 110 to 106 here now. So he's got that sewing machine cadence going there, keeping on top of that gear. We go back to Greg Watson there now. So, Q looks like he's gone off the front here again. He's wanted to stir things up. So this will start to really cause a reaction through the bunch here now. Pat Shaw will be one of the likes to look to go across to him. But it looks like Cameron Roberts, if I'm not correct, in that black kit coming across.
Who's up there?
Riley Fleming coming across. So Riley Fleming also rocking some black kit with a bit of blue on the tail end of him there. So Keel is in the slipstream here now, going to work. Obviously, they'll work together here because it's in both their interest to sort of make, if they want to try and make a gap here, they need to work together strong. We see Nadsy now taking on the chase here, Jasper.
We do. They've got 13 kilometers left of racing. That is 2.5 laps out on course, and they're trying to break things up. We've got a bunch of instigators out on course. Jeff, Nadsy, Riley, we've got Pat, we've got Cameron. They're all trying to, well, Nancy's working for Ockerby, but I think the rest are just trying to tire out Ockerby, trying to eventually make him do some of the work at the front so he can't just sit in and reap the benefits as a pedestrian. Hammersley from the UK goes off the front together with HS out of Germany. That was a short 16 watts per kilograms from Hammersley there. That's not an easy feat.
No, that isn't. We see some of these other riders here now moving up towards the front. So Luke Ockerby up the front here now with a couple of teammates in order. We've got Anthony Vegan Porsche up the front there now. So if they're sensing that they don't want to let anything go towards this last tail end of the race, only about 20 minutes of racing left. So these riders will start to be a little bit more on edge and making sure they don't miss any of the vital moves here. Coming up this climb here now through Trafalgar Square, they're going to be start to do a little bit of looking left to right, making sure that no one's going to come over the top of them, over their shoulder.
It's not going to be easy, though, going over the top and trying to bridge everything, trying to make everything fall apart, because it's too short of an effort to really drop some of the stronger guys. Like, if you are Anthony Vegan Porsche, if you're Jeff, if you are Pat, ideally going up this climb, you would like to get a 3-4 second gap, but this is just not the point where you can do it because everybody expects it. You have to do one of those surprise attacks on the flat when everyone else is recovering, sitting at the back, and not paying attention. That's when you can get a 3 second gap. And we all know on Zwift, once you have a 3 second gap, within meters, that can be turned into 10 seconds. Within kilometers, that can be turned into a minute. So you have to attack at the right points to really make the difference.
Absolutely, that's the thing with Zwift. Some of those scenarios in real life come across to this as well. So if you lose the wheel out the road in a race, it's very hard to get back on that wheel. In the same situation here, once you slip out of that draft, that virtual draft, it is quite an effort to get back up to that bunch. So we see the riders all wanting to group up here around the front. They do not want to be further back here because when these attacks go, this little bit of elastic band that stretches and comes back together with a bunch. Sometimes some of these people towards the end of that bunch will let that rubber band snap and they will go off the back, causing a gap there, which we've seen a couple of times throughout the start of this race, Jesper, of those groups dropping off early. So some of those riders that did get caught out there earlier, we said obviously had to use a little bit more of that energy to come back to the front there. So we see Anthony Vegan Porsche up the front here now. So I'd really like to see Anthony Vegan Porsche challenge these other riders here now. He needs to really back himself. He has got a really good engine, but I think Anthony, just with the amount of pure sprinters that are in this race, he's really getting a little bit daunted by the facts of these fast finishes. But we did see him with a really good aero power up early on towards the end of that sprint the last time round, that he went really deep and matched it with those guys, but then didn't quite hold on right to the end, but was still up there in that top 10. So that was really good to see Anthony up there. And I'd really like to see him finish really highly in tonight's race.
I fully agree on that, but we just saw Anthony pop a draft power-up. See, I've totally forgotten you can actually bring in a power-up to a race. So when you do your warm-up around London, whichever power-up you have once you click join event, you keep that power-up. So is it lazy? Is it bad preparation not to go into the race with an aero power-up? You can essentially guarantee yourself to have the strongest and best power-up to put yourself in the best possible position.
Yeah, it depends how long your warm-up is as well, Jesper. If some of these riders are time restraint, then they may not have as much time to get that aero power up or do that warm-up. I know that logging on, just getting the notifications that Anthony Vegan Porsche was on at least maybe 30 to 40 minutes before. And so, he hasn't obviously been lucky with picking up that aero power up. I know my brother was on there about 20 minutes before the start. So some of these riders may not be aware of that now. Now that you've shared that with them, they may be aware if they can take that aero power up across to the race start. I know that Dunn is definitely fully aware of that, and I've heard him say in the past before on the Wolfpack Taz Facebook page that he made sure he had an aero power up. So that is one thing that comes into play as well, comes back to tactics.
I mean, going into the finale on the 23rd, you would assume that every single one of those riders will be doing that. On their warm-up, they'll be going over the line, go a few kilometers, turn around, go over the line to make sure they have that power-up. Because the power-ups, if you have to use it before the sprint finish, odds are you're not going to finish with the best. If you use it in the sprint finish, you could win. Like, that's the best possible way of winning, having that aero.
Yeah, it is, but also depending on the course as well, just what the finale has, because we have seen some of the riders have to use aero power-ups to cause, especially on the volcano circuit, to get that bridge back across in the race to some of the other riders. But also we're seeing even the likes of Pat Shaw use aero power-ups on the actual climb of the volcano as well to make sure he gets that extra gap when attacking. So there is plenty of time to get aero power-ups on course as well. So I don't know whether we'll see the riders guard them that highly, but it's certainly a tactic that some of the riders may go for.
But in a game where marginal gains make all the difference, and the aero power-up being the biggest possible difference out on course, you would assume that everybody would be trying to get that one item. They'd be trying to get that one little advantage over the others. Because if you have a split between Shaw, Ockerby, and Dunn, if you take the aero power-ups out, I think they're all equal.
Yeah, there'd be very, very, very marginal gains between those three without the power-ups. So yeah, it would change the racing a little bit. It'd be interesting to know whether you could ever in the future, like you have your teammates that hand you an extra bottle or hand you an extra gel to hand you an extra power up. Now that would be something, wouldn't it? If someone could hand you, here, take this power up, this aero power up. I don't need that.
I did see a suggestion on the forums about that a while ago. It's a brilliant idea, but could you imagine if you brought in 10 team members and somebody kept attacking off the front and they had unlimited aero power ups? You just kept throwing them towards, let's say Aaron Dunn attacked, Natty gave an arrow, Ockerby, Wes, Sulzberger.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, you could put a limit on how many you could get in a time period. Over 5 minutes you can only have one. I don't know. There'd definitely be ways around it, but I think that'd be a pretty cool feature if you could pass on an aero power up, like you could pass over a bottle or a gel, or that's like passing over a caffeine gel to to your leader. I've passed over caffeine gels to the likes of Simon Gerrans and even Cadell Evans in the World Championships, giving them gels and things like that and bottles. So it'd be cool to be off to your main man that you had up for the pointy and for the sprint or for the uphill finish, that you could pass them over a bottle or an aero power up.
What's the maximum number of bottles you've ever carried in one go?
Oh, in one go. Oh, it'd be a fair number. I'd probably say at least 10 bottles. Yeah. My jersey was about to explode.
Put 10 bottles on your
body. Yeah, so I reckon 10 is probably stretching. I reckon I've done 8. I reckon I've at least done 8 bottles. 8 bottles. I don't know whether I've done 10 or not. I know that there's a record with one of the riders. Who was it from Vanksoleil that used to ride in the Walter a lot? I think it was 14 bottles or something he was carrying. It was something ridiculous, and I think he had an extra large jersey to compensate for that. But I always rode quite a aero fit jersey in FDJ. Not so much to start with because it wasn't really a thing talked about or thought about too much. Where now you see nearly every team, has an aero jersey, aero sleeves, everything like that.
Crits, the lowest category, half the riders show up in an aero jersey, like a slim fit. I just go, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's just standard now across the board. Everyone's into marginal gains. But we do see an aero power up. A featherweight being popped there. Now we see Anthony Vegan Porsche up the front here, take a bit of a mix, and we see, is that Nadsy with the featherweight there going off the front? So Nadsy's stirring it up here, testing the legs of some of these riders. We're down inside nearly that 10 minutes to go shortly too, Jesper.
We are, as they go underneath the finish line. That will be the final lap as they go out now. 1 lap to go as soon as they cross underneath that finish line barrier. But I'm not quite finished on the bottles topic, because they actually invented a bottle carrier vest you could put on. Did you ever get to experience that?
No, that was I was gone before that come about. But I have seen it being used. The eCrit riders have been using that. I think they trialed it in the Volta, I think it was the first time, maybe 2 or 3 years back.
They brought it to the tour afterwards.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a bit of muchness. Like if you've got the time, it's one thing, but it's not. I don't think it's vital. I think you can, with experienced riders. If for non-experienced riders or whatever going back to grab bottles, then maybe. But otherwise, you can get bottles up your jersey and down your back pretty quick.
I've never had to experience that myself, but I imagine it's quite the magical, task to find space to put every single water bottle.
The worst thing is, with your own, you're getting bottles for everyone, but your own food and things in your pockets, or your own gels you've got. Some of the time, they become the casualty of it. You lose things out of your pockets, and everyone's got water, but you've got no food left because everything fell out of your pockets because you pushed so many jerseys in there that everything couldn't quite fit, and something's got to give, and usually that's your food. So you usually have to put your hand up again and go back and grab yourself some more food and gels.
That's honestly the beauty thing about cycling, is that you have these guys that just sacrifice everything, like their food, their dignity, their like chances to win the race, so a teammate can win. You don't see that in football, basketball, any other sport. Like, it's only cycling where one guy is like, I won't win today, so you can win.
Yeah, pretty much. And these riders will do absolutely everything to try and make sure that the key rider is in the best position. And we see this throughout the eCrit series with the super domestic Nadsy, who just takes that role on, just loves that role. He loves to put it out there, hurt the other rider's legs, cover the moves, and just play that full team domestic role. But also the thing about Nadsy is he plays a bit of captain role as well, making sure that the riders, we see the bell there, Jasper's got that. We see Nadsy making sure the riders know the plan as well. So, they want to make sure that they are up with the knowledge of who's up in the points and who's where and what. So we see that we're a bit of a move here now, and we see the Wolfpack riders chasing that down now. So that's Nadsy, I think, in that green Tron bike by the looks of it.
It is. By the way, I caught you sleeping with the cowbell, Wes. Shame on you. 1 lap to go.
You did?
5 minutes left.
You did. I had the keys here ready.
Oh. All too late now. You'll get your chance later today over on the Western broadcast at Zwift Community Live. But 1 lap to go. Off the front, we have Craig Watson. We have Nadsy putting down the pace. Nadsy, at this point in the race, you would assume is definitely working for Luke Ockerby, taking what could be a 6th or 7th victory overall right now in the eCrit. Really came to fruition, all that work you put in early on, and now he is one of the main men, as he is also rocking a nice helmet as one of the few ones out on course. That, by the way, has been proven to lose you a few seconds of aero.
The helmet, yeah, I did read that as well. Yeah, the helmet is a couple of seconds over a certain period of time there. So we may see Ockerby lose the helmet for the marginal gains in the final.
Oof. Safety or marginal gains, the ever question of cycling. Now even on the virtual cycling. So looking at the pack, it's still very big, Wes.
It is quite a big pack, but like you said, this big pack is giving us a false sense. These riders are still pushing along at a fair pace here throughout this race. So, that bigger pack, may seem like they're on a bit of a group ride here, but this group ride, like you're saying, is that 4+ group ride. So certainly, certainly a tough group to roll along with. And we will see these riders sort of start to fan out even a little bit here, Nadsy. Looks like there's a bit of a move by Nadsy, is it? Or who was off the front here? No, we see Cameron Roberts.
It's B. Trekkie also on the front. Riley Fleming. Everyone is trying to attack away. And we could see the peloton break now if they continue this pace. There are no teas and biscuits on this group ride today. This is tough for these riders, as they've got 3 minutes left of racing, 3.5 Ks left of racing out on course as well. And we've got 20 riders within contention of winning today's stage. This is going to be good.
This is going to be an exciting final here. So there's still a lot of riders here left. So your 20 riders. Usually we don't see lately as big a group as this come to the line. So there are some strong riders in this bunch also. Obviously the Vision crew with their couple of teammates there now, and Jones we haven't seen do any sneaky attacks here. So Jones, obviously you said joined the race late, but he will still take this on for a sprint and test out the legs. Obviously Anthony Vegan Porsche would be looking to try and make sure that he picks up some points here. So I really hope that his teammates back him for that and try and put him in a position here to finish well up inside that top 10 to secure some points.
We've not really spoken about Pat for quite a while as well. Pat is now moving up. He has been sitting in. He's been resting up now, and he's getting ready for one last attack. We know what he's planning on doing. He's going to go over the top, and then with about 1 kilometer to go, this madman is just going to sprint like there is no tomorrow. This guy, VO2 max effort, yes please, and everyone else is going to cry.
Yeah, it's certainly when these long range sprints, it's an absolute grovel to the line for some of these riders. That to do a sprint for almost 1 kilometer, like you said, it's just it's an absolute lactate fest. So this is really going to just make it so hard for these riders when they're forced to go so early, and they really have to make sure that they get that power up time to perfection as well.
We've got Bernie in there as well. Very impressive considering this is his first eCrit. It's not easy, despite being a pro. eCrit is a totally different animal compared to being outside. There are small marginal gains, we keep mentioning that, and you really got to make sure you stay on top of, as this is one of them. Going up Trafalgar Square for the final time, you've got to keep the watts up high, but not only to the top. For the next 500 to 700 meters, you've got to keep rocking that 6-7 watts per kilo, because it will snap. The elastic snaps right here usually.
Yeah, and we see that Bernie just over that crest there. Before that, was up to that 500 watts and holding, and over 550 hitting on that. Now dropping back a little bit here. He's at that 180 heart rate. So we see Zwift here at 181 heart rate. So these riders are up around their max here now. So they're really working hard, trying to get a couple of sneaky breaths back in here before they come up for the finale. I reckon a few of these riders are having a couple of drinks here and probably going for a danger shot.
We got Jeff just sitting on the back. He may not want to intervene because technically he's without points, and if you want to actually get to the finale, maybe he will just let these guys race. He's gotten his workout in, all is good in the world, but we'll see what he's going to do. He's sitting on the back, definitely want to look out for it in case he does go for it. He's one of the guys that could steal the sprint right underneath the sprinters. We'll see how it goes. La Flamme Rouge is coming up right about there, which means 1K to go, and which means we've got about to zoom in on Pat Shaw, as we're all expecting him to launch an early attack.
Yeah, Pat Shaw is probably the main guy who hasn't done anything this second half of this race. Had a little bit of a move at the 20-minute mark, sitting in there pretty. So Pat Shaw, it looks like he's starting to wind up here already. It looks like there goes the aero power up. It's timed it to perfection.
Oh,
there we go, Jesper. You picked it like a dirty nose. He's gone for it.
What? Right on cue. 1K to go. Pops the aero power up, 12 watts per kilo. This could be the fastest ever K. You could go for the Strava KOM right now for this segment on Zwift. Got 3-second gap, 8-second gap, 6-second gap. It's just going out 10 seconds. Nobody
Look
else
at the avatar.
Oh. What is going
down
on?
In the aero position. There must be lactate coming out his eyeballs right now. This is a full long lane. I can't even get it out. Long range sprint here. See the riders coming up here now. Looks like we've got a lot of aero power being popped here now. Anthony Vegan, Porsche up there. Zwift, we see now Dunn dropping back. And now that Zwift looks like he's going to go on with it. It's Cameron Roberts, I think, is it coming up? No, it's not Cameron Roberts coming up beside him. Going to pop him, Ollie Jones on the line, taking it over Zwift. So that was a really good sprint by Zwift. He should be happy with that.
Craig Watson got third in that sprint. Craig Watson beat Ockerby, beat Dunn, beat everyone else. Good job.
Well, that's the long range sprint obviously suits his characteristics a lot better. So, like we said, Pat Shaw forcing everyone to go so early, so then it almost doesn't become a sprint. It's a grovel fest to the line. So those riders would really have to go out, quite high early. And if they've hit the front early, someone like Greg Watson may have been on the back of those riders, used that slipstream, and then has done that shake and bake move around the outside. But great ride by all the riders, getting him up there and amongst it tonight. That was a really nail-biting finish. I can't believe Pat Shaw went so early for it, and it's paid off.
He went so early. He had 10 seconds within 300 meters. Nobody else had the balls, I want to say, the courage to attack away with Pat with 1K to go. Everyone assumed that he'd just get caught in the sprint. Not Pat.
Yeah.
Who's going to beat this man?
Pat, he sprinted then when he attacked as if it was 200 meters to go, and then just groveled on with it. So that is just full commitment, and that is Pat Shaw in a nutshell. He will never die wondering. He will take everything head on. So, hats off to Pat Shaw. Chapeau.
Hats off to Pat Shaw. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the eCrit broadcast, powered by KISS and Zwift Community Live. Stay tuned for the wildcard announcements, which I assume will be made somewhat soon by Glenn Knight over on KISS Road Race. Head over to swiftpower.com to see the latest standings. And from Wes and myself, thank you so much for watching. In about an hour or so, we're going to be broadcasting the Western Race. In the meanwhile, I've got to go wash my bike because I got a race later this evening. Wes, it's been an honor.
Thanks very much, Jesper. Thanks for all the races as well. Thanks for everyone tuning in, and we'll see you across on the Western eCrit in 1 hour's time.